My name is Bryn, and I work at a company called Truemed, which Everfit has just partnered with. So we're going to chat through that partnership just now. But basically, the main thing here is we are going to be able to offer your guys' clients savings without you guys having to discount your own services at all. So just going to chat through how that all works right now. So I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen. All right, so Truemed and Everfit. So Truemed, again, this is the company that I work for. And basically the very high level kind of overview of what Truemed is we're going to allow you guys to accept HSA or FSA dollars with your clients. And I'll dive into all of that in a second, but that's what we do. So the basics. What is our mission? Who is Truemed? What's going on? You guys may or may not have heard of our founders, Callie Means and Justin Mayers. They've been really all over the interwebs recently. But basically, they have been taking a look at kind of the current healthcare system. And I'm sure most people in this room can resonate with this. And right now, Americans spend 95% of healthcare dollars on post getting sick, medication, prescriptions, doctor's visits, et cetera. And Callie and Justin have kind of looked at this and thought, this is backwards. We should actually be spending most of this money towards preventative care and not getting sick in the first place. So what we're doing is kind of looking at the system and thinking like, all right, how can we actually incentivize Americans to actually, work out, eat healthy, take care of their health before they, get diabetes or whatever it might be. So that is kind of where this whole thing has sprouted from. And our big thing is exercise is medicine, which I feel like you guys can probably all resonate with as well. So how we're doing this is we're taking a look at HSA and FSAs. So these are health saving accounts and flexible spending accounts. Basically, what they are is they're these pre-tax funds that Americans have. I believe the stat is 80% of employed Americans have access to this and 40% actually fund them. There's about $150 billion tied up in HSAs and FSAs. And kind of in this old world, what we were thinking about when thinking of HSAs and FSAs is you'd spend these pre-tax dollars on sunglasses and sunscreen and contact solution, kind of like boring things, if you will, co-pays for prescriptions. And now we're thinking like, okay, let's actually make this accessible for people like you guys to accept these dollars for incentivizing people to use these dollars towards medicine or supplements or something like that. So that's kind of like what the HSAs and FSAs are. There's the old world of the prescriptions, and there's this new world that we're trying to push into where we're, these dollars are spent on exercise. And they're essentially the same thing. They're used pretty interchangeably, but the big difference between HSAs and FSAs is FSAs actually expire come end of year. So a lot of people are sitting on this big pot of money actually right now of like $800, $3,000, whatever it might be. And that will then go goodbye. I actually don't know what happens to it come December 31st and be replenished come January. So right now, FSAs are top of mind for people. And in January, they will continue to be top of mind for people because their funds will be replenished. They'll have this new pot of gold and they need to figure out how to spend it. So how do we actually do that? So we have this HSA and FSA funds, and how we unlock the spending is essentially we will have your clients take a quick 2-minute health survey. It really is 2 minutes. I've done it kind of a million times now. They'll take a quick 2-minute health survey talking about, any family history of disease, any sort of disease like anxiety or obesity or anything like that, that they're looking to prevent, mitigate, or treat. And they will submit that survey, which then goes off to these third-party practitioners that we partner with that will review the surveys. And they, if eligible, will they will provide a letter of medical necessity to your client. And this letter of medical necessity is essentially what unlocks the spending for the HSAs and FSAs, as your clients can submit this, we call it an LMN, this LMN along with their receipt for your services to their provider to get reimbursed and unlock their spending. So that's essentially how the flow works and how we actually make this happen. In terms of taking the survey and then getting the letter of medical necessity from our providers, we like to say it takes under 48 hours, but the actual average, I believe, is it takes about 2 hours to get the letter of medical necessity from these providers. So pretty quick and seamless process. So what does this actually mean? Who cares? And what does it mean for you guys and your clients? So if you're going to remember anything from this presentation and me talking at you, I would remember this. Basically, because your clients are spending out of these pre-tax funds, they are essentially getting a savings of on average 30%. And the reason that we've come across we've landed on 30% is their savings actually depend on where they live and their tax bracket, but the average is anywhere from 25 to 40%. So we say 30% just to play it safe. So because these funds are pre-tax, they are essentially getting a savings. But the best part is you guys don't actually need to discount your services in any way. They're just getting the savings from using these dollars. So that's the first part. Second part here is they only need to take this survey once per year. So one time they need to take the survey, and then they'll get a letter of medical necessity specific to that survey, specific to Everfit and your guys' services. And that letter is then valid for 12 months. So they can take the survey, and then if they're working with you for 12 months thereafter, they can then use the receipts that they're getting from you along with the survey for those entire 12 months and submit for reimbursement at the end of the year, or they can do it monthly, however they want to do it, to their provider. So those are the two key things to remember there. So how does it actually work? Logistically speaking, how is this going to come into play? So basically all promotional materials, and Rob is going to be sending out some promotional templates just after this. All promo materials are going to be linking to your specific package page on Everfit. So your services, kind of like what you're offering, what your program is, whatever it might be. And on that package page, there is going to be a link to this landing page here that says Everfit really beautifully right there. And that landing page essentially houses the survey. So when a client clicks get started, then they'll be taken to the survey, and I'll go through that in just a second. They'll be taken to the survey. You can't see this landing page right now because this is just a screenshot, but a great thing about this landing page is there's a whole list of FAQs at the bottom. So if your clients do have questions and they're not really sure how it all works, you can just kind of direct them to this, and you don't need to necessarily memorize everything, and they can look at the FAQs there. We find it covers, I'd say, like 99% of clients' questions. So then once they hit get started, what does it look like? Essentially, they're going to come to this exact screen, start the 2-minute health evaluation, and they will hit continue, and they will provide all of the information that is asked of them. Again, takes literally 2 minutes. In order to do this, they are going to be paying a small fee in order to cover the cost of the provider and the review and everything like that. You are not paying for anything here. They are the ones that are paying, which is great. And then once they have this letter of medical necessity, they can purchase your services, your package, whatever it might be, and then they'll submit for reimbursement. So kind of just reiterating everything I just said. So what do you actually need to do? So the thing that you need to do here, like all the action items for you, is just letting your customers actually know that this is an option available to them. I think what I have seen through working at this company is a lot of people know vaguely what HSAs and FSAs are. They think about them as like the boring copay, I'll use them for my prescription, and then that's kind of it. But they want to spend this money. This is pre-tax money that's kind of given to them oftentimes by their employers. Like they want to spend this money. They just don't necessarily know that they're able to, one, and two, how. So I think the biggest thing is just continuously allowing or reminding your customers that this is potentially available to them, and explaining to them they're actually getting a savings by doing this. So you can do that with your current customers. You can also do this with any customer base that you're trying to, grab and convert as well. Huge conversion tool. You can kind of really get creative with how exactly you want to be messaging this. Which this is a great segue into this. So these are the different kind of like main levers we see in terms of marketing, people using Truemed for. So again, retention. If there's a customer that's thinking, okay, going into 2025, do I really want to keep doing personal training? Well, you should, one, and then two, you can have this actual savings, a 30% savings, if you do continue to do this. And if you don't know how to use your HSA and FSA dollars, what better way than personal training and taking care of your health? And then conversion, as we were just talking about, just growing your customer base in general. You can read all of these. I'm not going to go through every single one of them, but again, just get creative with how exactly you want to pull this lever. It's really up to you. Rob will be sending out resources regarding, like what is the copy and the template of what you should be saying. But again, you can get creative. You can use this however you'd like to. And that, like emails is a big thing. I'd say also social, probably I would assume for you guys, I don't want to assume, but I will assume that social is probably a really big platform for all of your clients. So we've seen huge success in social posts with Instagram. If you guys are on TikTok, anything like that, it can be. It's really up to you. However you wanna message this to your clients. And that's it. Pretty straightforward. Your clients are going to be getting savings, and you don't actually have to discount anything. That's the biggest thing to take away from this. And you can use this messaging however you would like. So that is my little spiel, and I would love to answer any questions, as I know this isn't always the most straightforward concept, and we can go from there.
Cool. Yeah, so we've got a couple of questions in the chat. The first one from Thomas, he was just asking, will we have to be accepting payments through Everfit with this? So Thomas, yes, that is the case. And to your follow-up question there, yes, we still use Stripe Express. And the reason for this is the letter of medical necessity states that this is a product or service supplied through Everfit's platform. Therefore, on the receipt for reimbursement, it needs to say Everfit somewhere on it for that reimbursement to be accepted. Otherwise, it wouldn't be. So that's the reason why it does require Everfit's payments processing. And then there's a couple of questions in regards to the fee that the clients will be charged for the LMN. Bryn, if you can.
Yes, that is just a one-off $20 fee for them. And then again, that's valid through the rest of the year. And the dates for when it's valid, just so you know, is explicitly stated within the LMN. And then also Truemed will remind them, we send an email automated, we'll remind them when the LMN is about to expire. So that's just kind of how that works.
Yeah. So for that, it's only $20, and based off the average of $30 savings, if they then spend $100 on your products or services throughout the entire 12 months, they're going to easily make that money back, right? So it's a small fee to pay for a lot of return on investment for them. Okay, so just reading through a couple of other questions. So Vanessa, yes, so anybody that's registered to this, obviously you guys have registered because you're here, but also if they didn't attend, they'll get a copy of the slides, a copy of the recording, and like Bryn mentioned, we'll also send out a copy of some templates for some communication that you can share with your clients. So there'll be like an email version, there'll be a version for like a social post or to post on an Everfit forum, for instance. And then there'll also be more of like a relaxed, like direct message or broadcast message type communication that you can send as well. That'll all be in that email that's got sent out to everybody after this. So keep an eye out for that. We usually will send that email within the next sort of 36 hours. So if it isn't in your inbox today, it will more than likely be in there tomorrow. So just to keep an eye out for that. Okay, what other questions do we? So Katie says, would any type of coaching program be eligible for the HSA, FSA savings?
Yep, the answer is yes, indeed. Assuming they're all kind of exercise-based or even nutrition-based, these are eligible.
Yeah, so essentially what we've done is we've managed to work with Truemed to kind of blanket the concept of anything that's delivered via Everfit falls into the realm of exercise, nutrition, health. So any of your products and services would be eligible.
And then Alyssa, do they submit payment before filling out the survey? No. So how the flow goes is they're alerted that they will need to pay kind of on the welcome screen, we say. And then they'll go through the survey, and then at the end, they will fill out they'll submit payment. And then something that's actually important to note here, I'm glad that you asked this, and I should have mentioned this before. Our qualification kind of rate is about 99%, I would say, acceptance rate. So about 99% of people who fill this out will end up getting the LMN. But in the rare case that they are rejected, we do provide a refund for them. So if they didn't end up getting, if they were not qualified for whatever reason, then they will get the survey fee refunded.
Cool. And then just looking through. So Kristen, how soon will this be available? We are working furiously in the background trying to get this launched before the end of the year. So that you, like Bryn mentioned, hopefully if anyone has any FSA money sitting around for 2024, that we can try and spend it. So yeah, this is something that we're pushing hard to get ready and launched before the end of the year. But even if not, it's definitely still a great thing to start chatting to your clients about, particularly if they don't have an HSA, FSA account, but their employer offers it. A lot of people are still in that open enrollment period, and they can potentially enroll into that for the new year coming as well. So even though it's not live yet, it's definitely still a good time to start having these conversations with clients and letting them know, just in case they do need to enroll into one. Brianna asked, can they get reimbursed the $20 fee through the HSA, FSA?
I've never been asked that before. I think that's a great question. The answer is no, I believe, because the what they're paying needs to directly kind of help treat, mitigate, or prevent some sort of healthcare. Yeah, I've never been asked that, but the answer is no. I'm going to say no. But then everything else thereafter will be reimbursable. Great question though. And then Patrick, are there any common exclusions to be approved for the LMN? So this is a great question. If someone has type 2 diabetes and another person wants to lose 20 pounds to feel more confident, will both be approved? The answer here, generally speaking, 99% of the time is yes. I think that the key thing to understand here is these LMNs are issued for people who are looking to cure, treat, mitigate, and prevent, specifically prevent any sort of disease. So I am not obese, but if I, was to fill out one of these, I am looking to prevent some sort of obesity. So I can fill that out as well. I can, select that, that being truthful. As long as they're truthful and they're thorough, then everything should be good.
Cool. Okay, so Stella says some HSA, FSA accounts have a debit card. Can they use that card?
Great question, Stella. Excellent question. Right now, the answer is no. But kind of a phase 2 that we're looking at here is being able to integrate so that they are able to, but that's a kind of a future state. So right now they do have to just pay with their normal credit card and then go submit for reimbursement to their provider.
Yep. Cool. For Thomas's question, no, you don't have to register your personal business through Truemed. Just by using Everfit, you qualify for that. So that's again why the payments need to be processed through Everfit's payments with Stripe, so that you can have that, like I said before, that receipt that qualifies you to match the requirements of the LMN.
Great. And off of that, actually, kind of on the other side of things for the clients, they don't need to sign up for Truemed or anything like that. All they need to do is take the survey.
All right, cool.
And then Kristen, is this for clients that currently have HSA through their employer? It's for anyone who has FSA or HSA accounts. So a lot of these accounts are funded through their employers or through people's employers, but there's also a lot of self-funded accounts out there. So as long as someone has an HSA or FSA, doesn't matter which way it's funded.
Cool. Yeah, Alyssa, I think we kind of answered that question as well, but just to reiterate, yes, they'll just go through the normal payments process on Everfit, and then get reimbursed. And all the information and steps on how to get reimbursed will be sent with their letter of medical necessity, correct?
Excuse me, sorry, I was reading. Say the last bit again.
I was just saying the steps on how they can how the clients can get reimbursed with their specific HSA, FSA provider will all be in the letter of medical necessity, and it covers a wide range of different insurance companies and things like that, correct?
Yeah, great question. So kind of off of that, one of the questions that's asked in the survey is, who is your HSA or FSA provider? Let's say, and there's I don't remember, 20, 30 that are listed there. Let's say it's WEX. They'll select WEX and then go through the rest of the survey. Then when they receive the LMN from the provider, Truemed, in addition to that, will provide specific instructions as to how to submit this to their specific provider. So specifically WEX, what is WEX's process? It's usually pretty straightforward and they're pretty similar, but we'll have kind of a step-by-step breakdown there.
Cool. Yes, and then, so for Cannon's question, yes, you will need the payments add-on for this within Everfit.
Great. Awesome. And then Kristen, also great questions, guys. I love this. Can you explain how HSA coverage works? Let's say they spend $200 a month. Do they get reimbursed a certain amount each month? Do they need to pay a certain amount at a time? So basically, with this coverage, and let me know if I'm not answering your question correctly here, but let's say they're spending $200 a month. they can go in and they can submit the receipt for that monthly payment along with that LMN and submit that to the provider on a monthly basis and get reimbursed from their provider. Or alternatively, if they don't want to do that on a monthly basis, they can batch it out. So they can include receipts for like 3 or 4 months or 5 or 6 or up to a year and submit those receipts with the LMN and just get reimbursed all at once. So it's kind of up to them. Hopefully that answers your question. Let me know if it didn't.
Yeah, and I think we kind of covered it, but just to be clear as well, this works for both if your payment model with your clients is a subscription or if it's a one-off. So maybe you have like a 10-week challenge or a program or something, and it's just a one-off fee. That will also be available for reimbursement too. So it's not just monthly subscriptions.
Do you know the total they can get covered a year? I'm sure it could be different person to person. Yes, correct. So the amount that is in each person's account is totally differentiates, and they can be covered up to that full amount each year. So it does differ person to person.
But yeah, and I believe even if they like say their total purchase for the year is above their total HSA or FSA account, they'll be able to get up until the max that their account allows, correct?
Yep, exactly. So it kind of like splits off, if you will.
Cool.
These are great questions.
Yeah, all right. Cool. Does anybody have, oh yeah, we got a couple more questions. There we go.
Nice. Thanks, Kristen. Brianna, FSA HSA have spending cards that would work for people to pay directly. So Brianna, just again, to make this clear, so people do have those FSA and HSA spending cards right now. We currently aren't set up so that they can submit those directly into Everfit. However, that is something that's definitely ongoing conversations. So look out for phase 2 as a little sneak peek and using those cards directly with Everfit.
Yeah. So Alyssa, to answer your question, so basically if you were to do this without the Everfit integration, your client would have to go and find a letter of medical necessity from a doctor on their own, I believe. And then, yeah, so it would just make it, basically we've like streamlined this process to make it like super simple, easy. Like we said, it's a 2-minute survey. They pay $20 and then it's in their email within the next couple of hours, basically.
Yep, exactly. Very well said. Are there ever scenarios where someone's HSA or FSA provider is not on your list of providers? Frankly, not that I've come across, but let's say that was to happen. We do have a support team, so I can include this within all of kind of the materials that are coming out. But it's called support@truemed.com. And if anyone has any questions, they can go to support@truemed.com and let them know that their provider isn't on there, and we will guide them step by step on how to reimburse individually that way as well. And that being said, if there are any problems that any customers have regarding their reimbursement, like let's say their provider rejects it after getting the LMN and they're having some sort of troubles, they can reach out to support@truemed.com and we'll actually chat with the provider directly and kind of see like, why was this rejected? Is there anything that we can do to help clarify something so that this actually gets accepted? And we'll usually overturn, I think about like 50% of those disputes is the statistic.
Cool. All right. Well, yeah. If any more questions pop in, we'll definitely answer them. But we'll sort of look to wrap it up here. But yeah, I think that the key takeaway for this is, like we mentioned, like start having those conversations with your clients. You know, see who has an HSA, FSA account, or if they don't, you know, maybe suggest to them that they try and enroll in one for next year. Because at the end of the day, you know, if they can save 25 to 40% on your fees while you still take 100% of your fees, like that's a huge win-win for all parties. So like Kristen mentioned, we also think this is going to be a huge game changer for you guys and your clients in order to grow your businesses. And the other thing would be just keep an eye out. Like I said, it isn't launched yet, but with this, we just wanted to let everyone know so they could start having those conversations, but keep an eye out for some updates coming around launching that. And then we'll likely be holding another webinar in sort of early to mid-January post-launch. So again, like if you have any other questions that pop up in that time or anything like that, keep an eye out for that webinar as well. And we'll have a little bit more information and probably a few more examples of the exact flow that it will look like within the Everfit system once that's set up and live, hopefully in the next week or so.
Awesome.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you all for coming. We really appreciate it. Thank you, Bryn, and thanks to Truemed as well for helping us set this partnership up. And other than that, enjoy the rest of your day, week, holidays, and year. And we'll see you in the new year.
All right. Thank you so much, Rob, for having me, and good to meet everyone virtually. Happy holidays.